Alright, starting. Fuel selector down here is on both. I just can go from flow to the bottom to the left.
Okay.
Yeah, trim, we could set that. If you ever wanted to, you can always verify your trim back there is neutral. So if you're ever getting in a new airplane, you know, you can double check. Mixture is going to go full rich. Throttle, open about 1/8 of an inch. So the way you do that, pilot holds the throttle like this.
Okay.
So you go back.
Kind of gauge.
Yeah, and the reason why a pilot holds throttle like this is because when you're bouncing around, in the sim it probably doesn't matter, but when you're bouncing around in flight in turbulent air, you want to have like full authority over that thing.
Okay.
Carb heat off, lights all off, beacon is on.
Right.
Circuit breakers, nothing's popped out. If it did pop out, like I'll pull the autopilot because very clearly this thing does not have autopilot.
Yeah.
And that's what it would look like.
What about these two guys?
Yeah, so those are just different designs.
Oh, okay, so they're in. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Avionics is off. Battery master will go on. Yeah. I'm gonna prime the engine real quick. Yeah.
There it goes. How many times?
So you pull it all the way out. You can kind of hear the bladder fill up. There you go. Pull it out and let it sit for a second, and then you can go ahead. And then go with third one. Yeah. Let's go. Since you're comfortable with this, go halfway.
No, sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, we might go and be fine with it. We'll see how it starts up. If she doesn't like it, then.
How do you get that?
So
is there
there's like that little nipple on there. And then 180 degrees. So go back.
I'm sorry. So it's loose. I see.
Yep.
Okay. So.
Then 180. Then I always just pull back out on it.
Got it. Okay.
All right. So we're cleared left, cleared right. Nobody's around. Clear prop for insurance purposes or what else. And I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, just because it might, depending on how it starts up, it may or may not be easy. Yeah, I'll let her warm up a little bit. At least the oil is moving around. We'll wait for the starter for a second. What we're gonna do is go all the way out with the primer, and then go halfway in.
Okay.
Right about there. And then I want you to actually push that in while I turn this.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1, ready. Let's go. Alright. And then if you want to go halfway out, because I don't want to keep adding too much fuel.
Okay. Sorry, it's a lot.
Yeah. Right there. And I'll turn her over as you push that in. Is trotting on the radio, that's just squelch. Good. I can turn this squelch down. Alright, so right now you'll notice we have two radios. We have COM 1 and COM 2. Right. It just so happens that these radios are kind of busted up here. So we got COM 1 we're listening to. Right. COM 2 we're actually just transmitting on. Okay. We sound better to other people when we transmit on COM 2. So for practice I just transmit on COM 2 and listen on COM 1. Okay. So I'm transmitting. This is my panel to let me know which ones I'm transmitting on and all that. I don't need to go over the avionics too much with you today because it's not really the priority. but taxiing. All right, so we're going to go ahead and clear left, cleared right, and we can go flaps up. Flaps are moving up. And then I'm just going to go ahead and test my brakes. So I'll advance the throttle a little bit, and release the brakes, and then power to idle. And then there's my brake test. If you want, you go ahead and do the same thing. So your flight controls, I don't know if you're familiar with the three-part process. There you go.
Right, heavy traffic.
And that's good.
Downwind runway 1, lined up.
And then I'll take controls right back.
Okay, yeah,
and you can follow my lead. I always recommend, unless it's for some reason why I say not to, but I always recommend definitely follow my lead with the pedals and everything, and just that way you know what I'm doing. You can even have your feet kind of float above the brakes, that way you see. I really try to minimize the amount of brakes. Sometimes even because I'm going, that's probably a bad habit and shouldn't tell you that, but look, there's so much movement, and I do this because I want people to understand how much movement you can get out of just using rudder alone, right? Because the rudder pedals are connected to the nose wheel via bungees, so that nose wheel is moving left and right. However, in flight, there's a coupler that sits over the strut, so when you take off, the coupler relieves itself from the strut and doesn't allow that nose to move left and right anymore. It just forces it.
5 miles east for a runway 27, sorry, cross east.
Alright, I'm just going to swing her over here.
Just like the run-up area or something?
Yep.
Okay.
It's not like a designated placard run-up area, but we just use it. Also, I'm going full back pressure on the yoke. It just relieves how much weight we're putting on the nose wheel. Okay. So, first thing we're going to do now when we're here, we're going to go ahead and check the flight controls. So you want to doors and windows secured and locked, so you can check that your doors and windows are locked. Yep. We'll go check flight controls. Go full left. Ailerons up. Right ailerons down. Elevator back. So verify your elevators up, then kick rudder left and right. And you'll go full right ailerons up, left ailerons down over there. Good. And then the other thing is now look inside, make sure you're free of any bags, camera equipment, all that crap when you start flying with people. Okay. Make sure you have full use of the controls. Okay. Also, it's all cable and pulley, so make sure there's no grinding or binding in there. Okay. This right here, you have all our lights on. We're just going to turn the lights off. You don't have to worry about handbrake. Okay. We're going to do a flight instrument check, so your 6-pack airspeed is zeroed out. Attitude indicator is blue over brown, not banking more than 5 degrees. Altimeter, I'm going to put this to 162 feet, so that's 0 feet right there. 100, 20, 40, 60. That's, and then we have our Colesman window there for the altimeter setting, which I can get from Philly right now. Philly is reporting in their METAR 3060. Okay. So Philly's actually reporting this. So we're in Philly's airspace. Sometimes we'll just do it to Philly, so that way, kind of makes sense to just do Philly since we don't want to bust their airspace.
What app is that?
ForeFlight. Okay. Yeah, you should definitely. We'll invest into that.
Yeah, I didn't know if I should get it now or later, but I definitely I'm gonna get that.
Yeah. Vertical speed is zeroed out. Yep. Heading indicator to compass. This is showing 270, 280, 285. Yep. So this is 285. I can have my 270 bugged for my runway I'm landing and taking off. Compass is free of cracks, leaks, and bubbles. We have a deviation card. This deviation card accounts for the electronics. So you have north, steer to a heading of 005. So if I put my phone over top of the compass, it doesn't like it.
Oh, gotcha.
And we have turn coordinator, wings are level, balls centered. Engine run up. We go mixture full rich. Fuel selector down here is on both. Yep. Throttle to 17. I make sure no one's behind us. And we're cleared. And we'll go throttle 17. And as I'm doing that, so I'm at 17. Yep. Oil temp pressure is in the green, and I'm going to go ahead and
green. You want me to do it? Or you can do it.
It's going to go 1, 2. No more than a 125 drop. Right. And then it recovers back at 17. Yep. And then no more than a 125 RPM drop. Yep. And there is no more than a 50 drop between each drop. Right. Oil temp pressure's in the green. Ammeter down here, that's the battery being charged by the alternator, so I can put electrical load with the flaps. So here's the flap motor. Right. And it recovers just slightly above zero. Okay. We have suction in the green.
Traffic, Cessna 14
and carb heat. So if I put hot air into the engine, it's not going to like it. So we'll see a reduction in power. Right the recovery. I'm going to do it one more time because Cessna recommends that you use carb heat whenever landing. Okay. So if we're going to use carb heat when landing, I want to make sure with hot induction air that engine still sufficiently runs. So the engine's not stalling out.
1 for hotel, turning final for runway 9.
Put carb heat back in, throttle back to 1,000. I'm going to lean the mixture because now we're at a low power setting. We're on the ground. We don't need the full fuel going to the engine. Set up the radios, 3060. Not that I'm really going to use the GPS today. I'm not going anywhere that's complicated for us. Altimeter setting 3060. GPS is showing half right scale deflection. This is showing half right scale deflection. So these two are GPS. These two communicate. Nav 1 communicates over here. Nav 2 over here. Okay. So they're just all right next to each other. 264 is what it's reading. This is reading 264, so that's good. If I made it, whatever else, they're communicating. Got it. So, all right. I'm just going to button smash the enter button here, and everything's expired and all that. So the direct button, the cross keys, and we're good to go. Alright, so we got winds today are variable at 3 knots, winds aloft are 239 at 6 knots, and that is it. Alright, so we got the windsock here, so I'm going to pull back. They're using runway 9, and we have our windsock right here. This is favoring runway 9, okay. So we go ahead and turn and cross keys traffic, white Cessna, taxiing, blue hangers to runway 9er, cross keys.
I like the new addition to the flight school, the plane. That's a sweet plane.
That's 180 horse.
Awesome.
That thing wants to take off. You gotta fly in it.
What model is that?
It's a P model.
Same thing?
Yeah, it's actually the same exact thing as this, but it has 180 horse conversion to it. Good practice. In light wind conditions, I just go full back pressure on the elevator because it keeps the life of the nose strut a little bit better. Okay. Rather than putting the weight of the airplane on it. Right. Because the nose strut is only meant to really dampen some landings, not really to take the weight of the airplane plus more. Okay. So I feel like this is aerodynamically putting weight onto it. Right. Taxiing, I'm just using the yellow line to go to my chest approximately. Right. And we have on the transponder 1200 altitude reporting mode. And I usually move this to about 6 miles at least. So I have a traffic. Yeah. What's cool is this thing actually communicates with your iPad and stuff. So it has ADS-B in and out. Okay. So it receives traffic, and then you can put your traffic onto your iPad. Yep. It also has weather on here, so we can literally just get weather. But I don't know if you're familiar with ADS-B being the new thing now, and weather sends it all to ADS. You get your weather all on it. Yep. Kind of cool. Alright, so for takeoff today, I'm going to do a short field takeoff. I always do it for my first run of the day just because, first flight of the day. So why not try and take off and climb out in the shortest distance possible and gain altitude. Right on. It's just one of mine. I guess just do it for safety. Alright. So climbing out in this thing, we're just going to take off when we feel like this plane's taking off. I don't even want to worry about V-speeds and all that crap. We're just going to feel the airplane start kind of bouncing off the runway, and we're going to just pull the nose up. We're not going to rip back, we're just going to gently pull the nose back. The curvature part of the dash, we're just going to bring that to the horizon. So the horizon line usually sits right here. So all the horizon lines there, that's pretty much good enough. If you want, you can hide the checklist. We have, and not really that I need this. So So we'll take off 9 because he was just landing 9, and the winds are favoring 9 a little bit, but at altitude it's actually favoring 27. So that's just what happens at this airport. It's normal.
All right.
We're going to go mixture full rich for takeoff. Fuel selectors on both. 10 degrees of flaps. Flaps increase lift and drag, so it's going to allow us to take off in a shorter distance. And
Right. Do you do that normally or just on the short takeoff?
on short field takeoffs and on soft field takeoffs.
Got it.
Carb heat is in. We don't want carb heat. And I always just do one last sweep anyways.
Okay.
Lights, mags are on both. That primer's still locked.
Yep.
And we're squawking 1200 altitude mode. We already have the radio set so we can make our radio call. We're cleared left. We're cleared on final. We're cleared on opposite final. There's no ground vehicles or anything. I'll make radio call. And cross keys traffic, White Skyhawk November 52261 departing runway 9er, straight out departure to the east, cross keys. So we'll taxi out. And during a short field takeoff, we're going to try and simulate, we're in your buddy's backyard. We're going to take off and use as much possible runway here.
Gotcha.
And obviously watch the tail on ground equipment, like those lights, not that they really exist anymore because the snowplows hit them so many times.
Right.
Here we're lined up. Verify runway 9 is inside and out. So runway 9 is there. And I'm going to brakes hold, throttle, we're going to go full, and you can go ahead and follow me along. Toes are going to be on the bottom portion of the pedal.
Right.
Alright, full throttle. Oil temp pressure's in the green.
Yep.
Static RPM, 2200 RPM is achieved.
Okay.
And we're going to go ahead and release the brakes, heels on the floor, toes on the bottom portion of the pedal. And like I said, we're just going to take off. There's no crosswind correction.
Right.
The winds are very dead. So we're just going to take off when she starts bouncing.
Okay.
You're going to feel her start bouncing. You feel it bouncing a little bit?
Yep.
There she goes. She wants to fly. Just gently pull the nose up.
Okay.
Pull the curvature part of the dash to the horizon like this. And just hold it. I'm adding a lot more right rudder to compensate for the P factor and left turning tendencies of our airplane. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes, I am.
Alright. We're cleared obstacles left and right. Plane's flying. You can push that nose down. And now I'm pushing the nose down because I want to pick up more speed.
Right.
As I do that, I can retract the flaps up. Flaps are up on each side. And then now again, I just bring the curvature part of the dash to the horizon. I'm going to use my poor man's autopilot and just slowly use some nose forward trim. So that way I'm just hands off the controls and the curvature part of the dash to the horizon. Alright, you're on controls. I'm going to follow along with rudder. Okay. However, you can keep...
Other traffic Skyhawk 9 Quebec taxi for
I had my volume all the way down. There you go.
Dr. Forward Victor taxiing from the hangar to runway 9, cross keys.
Okay.
And we'll follow the expressway over here. Once we're past 1,000 feet, I do another check. You can ease the nose forward so that way we can get better visibility on other pilots.
Okay.
So bring the white part of the cowling to maybe the horizon or a little bit below it.
That's what it is for me.
Yep, that's good. And then we're going to go ahead and check these two instruments to make sure that we can continue flying away from our airport.
We're good.
Alright. And cross keys traffic, Cessna November 52261 upwind, runway 9er, straight up departure to the east, phone call, cross keys.
19 Hufford.
And we got the expressway over here, and we'll just continue tracking that. And then you can go ahead and put your hand on throttle. You have full authority over this aircraft now. Okay. Oh, we got heat going, and this thing's leaking air in. Other thing on climb out is make sure heading and compass are within 10 degrees. However, sometimes it's hard to really distinguish it.
Right.
But they look good.
About 5 degrees.
And you want to go up to an altitude of any sort? I don't care.
I don't really care either.
Usually like a good altitude, maybe 2,500. Let's do that. Okay. So we'll have 500 feet more to go.
Yep.
And then when you get to 2,500, you're going to put the horizon 3 inches below the dash, or above the dash.
Gotcha.
So just force the nose forward. It's going to really take a lot of just muscle on the airplane around.
Yeah.
So right there. Hold it. Now pull the power to cruise, so pull the power to the bottom of the green arc on the tachometer.
Getting there.
There you go.
Okay.
And then the trim wheel, now you use the trim last. The reason you use the trim last is because as you move the throttle around, the nose will want to go up or down on you.
We'll be crossing midfield to a left,
Still climbing here.
downwind for 2-8, Nautical Spring.
There you go. And you can either use this horizon here, right? But look how the orange dot is lined up. You did it really well, and all you're doing is just using the horizon out here, 3 to 4 inches above the dash. That's straight and level. That's going to give you cruise flight, maintaining altitude. And if we start getting bounced around like packing peanuts in here, we could just pull the throttle back a little bit more, but then that means you're going to have to adjust your trim the tiniest bit too.
Yeah. The trim in my setup is not as catchy as this one, so I have to go like this for an hour.
Yeah.
So this is interesting.
Yeah, it's like literally the tiniest movement.
Well, one thing I'm never clear on is the trim. When you roll the trim nose down, the tab in the back, how is that moving?
Okay, so if you want to move the nose down, the tab is going to have to drop back, drop down. Right, because as we push the nose down, as you push the nose down, the elevator is going to come up.
But I thought it was backwards from the elevator. So like if you're going nose down on the, you want to go nose down, then the elevator needs, the trim tab goes up. That's what I thought. Maybe I'm wrong, but
that's incorrectly.
Right.
Because if you're going forward, the nose forward,
Right.
that elevator has to go up. So same with the trim. So if you goes forward, the trim has to come up. Just drop the nose down. It's probably easier if I show you on the ground too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Alright, so there's a couple people hanging out over here. Let's go ahead and swing a right down these power lines. So you can go ahead and lift up your right wing. So just bank left real quick.
Sure.
Verify there's nothing on your right, and then you can go ahead and turn right.
Sure.
And you just roll the horizon right in the same spot, and you just kind of fixate on the horizon there to detect whether you're climbing or descending. It looks like the nose is slightly pointed down, but that's fine because we drop a little bit.
Yeah.
And are you familiar with approach controllers and all that?
Yep. I do a lot of full simulated bat sim. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I'm going to switch over to Atlantic City. They're going to give us traffic advisories.
Contact tower.
They're going to give us a squawk code and an altimeter setting.
Right. Just the heading we want?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay.
Atlantic City approach, Skyhawk, November 52261.
52261, go ahead.
52261, approximately 4 miles west of November 81 Hamilton, 2,500. I'd like to pick up VFR traffic advisories, doing maneuvers in the vicinity, and end destination is Cross Keys.
Number 261, squawk 0134.
0134, 52261. Alright, so one thing I want to practice here too, while we're just maintaining straight level flight.
Radar contact line, the altimeter is 3059.
3059, November 52261, thank you. So you can move that the tiniest bit. There you go. Alright, I'm going to take my feet off the pedals, off rudder. You're going to notice this plane may want to go left or right, or you might get one wing going up. When you start getting one wing coming up, it's not because you banked the airplane, it's because of the uneven kind of lift on each wing. Okay? So go ahead and practice. Put like a lot of rudder on one of the pedals if you want.
Okay, I'm going to go left.
Alright. Left wing comes up. The reason being is because as you kick the nose to the left, it exposes more of this right wing to the airflow. Okay. And then the inside portion of the wing gets blocked from the cowling here.
Right.
So because of that inner portion of the wing is being blocked from airflow, as we do that, and this one's getting more exposed to more air, that wing comes up.
Okay.
And that's always happening as you're flying, maybe just because of turbulent air bouncing around and stuff. And a lot of it can just take some subtle correction with your feet instead of using the ailerons. It'll bumpy out here though. Alright, one of the things I want to do is start practicing some climbs and descents. So we already climbed out of cross keys and you maintained a climb really well. Let's use a visual reference outside. Okay. Let's go to a quarry over here on our right. I'm going to try and get you to hold your hand on throttle early on, okay? Because it will take some adjusting to get used to make all this work with just using your one arm. May be uncomfortable for you because now you're going to have to get into muscle and the plane around and all that, but over time it'll be normal.
So, I'm sorry, which choir are we going to?
Oh, any of them. Yeah, pick anything out there, I don't mind. Or you can even use this road straight ahead.
Let's do that.
In the Millville.
Yeah, I need to learn how to use the rudder properly.
Zulu checking the 6000. Sir, 507 golf.
Alright, so the descent checklist. In a Cessna 172, all descents and all landings, we use carburetor heat.
Out for another turn.
You also want to make sure that you're not about to be at a high altitude where you lean that engine out. So if you lean the engine out at a high altitude and then you come back down to the ground and you're not giving the aircraft enough fuel,
220 Zulu, Atlantic City
then you potentially could run it out too lean.
Right.
So for descents, make sure mixture is rich, so we're not going to end up giving ourselves a pilot-induced engine failure.
Right.
Pull carb heat out, because we want that. Yep. Okay. You pull it all the way out. So the one thing to know about carb heat is it's always either fully in or fully out, never halfway. And then now you can use the throttle.
3000 until crossing PCI.
Pull the throttle at about 1,500 RPM.
Just trying to get your 1 o'clock and 5 miles southwest bound as a light civil 2,500, just doing some maneuvers in the area.
And then go ahead and use the horizon to be about halfway on the window between the dash and up here.
Okay.
Which ends up being about, 4 inches above the compass.
Okay.
And that's my visual sight picture to maintain a nice smooth descent, 500 feet. Look, we're holding exactly 500 just by using that visual.
Okay.
The reason why you want to do that is because you want your passengers to feel at ease and pleased. You know what I mean? It's not uncomfortable for their ears and the pressure change and difference.
Right.
Let's go down to 1,500, and then we'll level off at 1,500.
Level 4,000.
So when you level off, you'll pitch, power, and then trim.
Pitch, power, trim.
161 Alpha, Atlantic City approach.
And try and get your hand back on throttle.
8 turn 20 degrees left, so that's the vector for the ILS.
And we got 300 feet to go.
To the ILS, thank you, sir. System Alpha.
And when you level off, just use the outside references to level off. So you could just pretty much bring my hand, or in this case, my hand's almost lined up with the compass, so you could pretty much bring the compass if you wanted to.
Right.
Bring that to the horizon, you're at 1,500 or slightly above 1,500, that's the time to do it.
61 traffic directly off the right-hand side, 3 o'clock, 2 miles. They're turning southwest bound towards Cedar Lake at 3,000. There's an Archer doing a VOR approaching to Millville Airport, if you're familiar with that.
Roger, yeah, we can maintain visual separation, 52261.
Do you have them in sight?
Not yet, but I'm looking.
Okay.
Alright, let's go ahead and pick something out here on our left. So there's somebody doing a VOR approach.
Some of that lone field over there.
Sure, yeah, let's go right over there. Alright, so what we're going to do is practice doing some turns around a visual reference. Okay. The reason why we do that is because we want to understand how to compensate for wind drift. Right. Because if you're not compensating for wind drift and you're flying the airport traffic pattern, everything that we do in the beginning is going to be to get you, they're like little tasks that we do to get you to fly the airport traffic pattern.
You're inbound on the approach.
So, If we're not compensating for wind drift in the pattern, then now the plane's flying you, you're not flying the plane at that point.
Right.
So let's look for anything out here. If you have something in sight.
About this big rectangle, is that too small?
You can pick any single reference. I don't care. It could be a house, it could be a barn, it could be...
Here's a ball field.
Okay. Alright, so the winds today are from 3, let me double check that. Not Haggettstown. Oh. Alright, so the correct way to do these maneuvers, we got the winds 258 at 5 knots. Actually, alright, the winds are extremely dead. It's just bumpy out here though. 258. The winds are directly behind us. That's where you want to start the maneuver with the winds behind you because you want your fastest ground speed. We want to be traveling fastest across the ground so that way our first turn is our steepest. Okay? So when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and make a left 360 around this and go ahead and clear left before turning. So make sure there's nobody on our left.
Yeah,
That could even be a flock of seagulls and all that stuff too that we're looking for. Or helicopters that fly low to the ground too.
All right.
Atlantic City, Eastern 12167 Alpha 4000.
And as you do that, try and keep your hand on throttle. However, with these ground reference maneuvers, you're never going to adjust the throttle. Your hand's always going to be on the throttle though to guard the aircraft. You know, if there's something in front of us that we needed to
yes, 4,000
pull it out, or we would.
Okay, very good, thanks.
And try and get this so that way the entire turn is one smooth increase and then decrease. The wind drift, so we're going to continue making 360s around it.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, you put your carpet in as well.
Okay. All right.
So ideally, you should be able to get the bank angle set. So try and set your bank angle. So go ahead and roll the aircraft to the left. And watch this. Go ahead and neutralize the yoke. And then just use your pitch. So all we need to do is pitch.
Got it.
And feel how the plane wants to sink into a bank even more.
Yeah.
And sometimes out. It's actually because of just rudder. We just need to use rudder to compensate for that. You don't want to use the ailerons. Because the airplane is extremely stable. So once you set the bank angle, it's going to stay there, as long as you're using your feet.
Okay. I'm like pushing on the rudder and I'm not, it doesn't seem to be moving much. Is that just the wind stream?
So like here.
There you go.
5,000.
So look outside, you kind of,
Alright.
that's how much rudder it's going to take. It's only going to take a little bit in these turns.
67 Alpha.
They really got to slam on it.
Yeah, as you roll to the left, you may notice you're going to add left rudder. So as you roll left, it may take a little bit of left rudder. And you're familiar with the turn coordinator then, I assume? Yeah. It's not going to take much. And but try and get in the habit of once you get the bank set, you neutralize the yoke. The yoke shouldn't move.
132 Delta Echo, traffic 12 o'clock, 4 miles, southeastbound, type in and altitude 3,300. Number 507 Golf, radar service terminated. Things advisory frequency approved. Just squawk, call me on the go.
A little bit of rudder. Get into the thing.
Over advisory unit, call you over. Advisory on Golf.
Control on.
Yep, and then just hold the yoke neutral, and they'll only make pitch corrections. Because we're in a bank, the aircraft is G-loading. We're G-loading the airplane.
Information, Charlie.
So you have to increase back pressure.
Yes, ma'am. Like vectors, ILS runway 31 with the published.
Are we just staying? Are we doing a box around here, or do you want me to just keep doing a circle?
Oh, circle. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
So that way you can hold your bank angle.
I see.
I don't think we're going to need to really compensate for wind drift because the winds are pretty light.
All right. Okay. Try this again.
So it might need less bank. Just a little bit less, like right around there, and then now look outside and see where it's at. Yeah. So I think if we were to keep it like this, and just keep it and don't move the yoke, so get it set like that, and don't really move the yoke.
See, now we're using rudder.
Yep, exactly.
Now
Because
okay.
look outside.
Yeah.
As that plane wants to take the bank in and out, all you need to do is just keep the plane coordinated because you already set the bank.
Gotcha.
And now it should just stay. As long as we're in smooth enough conditions where, you know, we can control it, right? But it is a little bumpy, so it's hard to control. However, you are doing, you know, now you're moving the yoke back and forth.
Right.
That is called pilot-induced turbulence right there, when you're moving it back and forth.
Yeah. I'm just not used to using the rudder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's even harder to use the rudder in a simulator because you don't really feel it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I never use it because
the rudder pedals in a sim actually slide forward and back instead of having like this. I feel like the system's completely different.
Delta Echo, contact over approach 132.42.
3242, 2 Delta Echo.
Yeah, now look at that. That's like spot on.
I see, okay.
On the money right there. The bank angle's set, so it should be the same. However, we have a 5-knot wind that might push us a little bit to the east.
Right. I feel like, I feel like we are kind of going that way.
Yeah, we might be just a little bit. So that might just take a little bit of shallowing out the bank angle on this side as we penetrate through the wind.
Right.
But the tiniest bit, though, with that small amount of wind.
2167 Alpha, descend and maintain 2000.
Down to 2 now, 67 Alpha, roger.
Wing 16, descend and maintain 3000.
3000, wing 16.
And wing 16, you said the published miss to hold at Smith?
Yes, ma'am, wing 16.
Roger. November 67 Alpha, will this be a full stop?
It's a full stop, 67 Alpha, roger.
Roger.
Once you get that set up, we'll swing around back towards the expressway and we'll try and fly some slow flight. Okay? So you can keep this turn coming around until you get to about a north heading, or let's say I'll put you 020 approximately.
Okay.
Wing 16, turn left heading 150 back to the
So if you want, instead of a 020 heading, just fly to that blue building straight ahead. That's a quarry or another sand mine. So we can follow the road. It's hard to tell, hard to see, but
Yeah.
see a weird discoloration of the trees.
The little stack coming up?
Yep.
Okay.
And then you can go ahead and climb up to 2,000, let's go 2,500 again. So you're going to go full throttle and bring the curvature part of, or actually for cruise climb, you could just bring the white cowling pretty much up to the horizon. Or just a little bit below it. The reason why we use that is because we want to have better visual reference to any other pilots in the area.
Right.
And because we've already cleared every obstacle in South Jersey, so there's no need to continue pitching that nose up and trying to climb rapidly.
Right.
And you go full throttle, full climb, so you can push it all the way.
Oh, it stops?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I know it's like kind of weird, right? Because you would never think in your car you're going to go, right?
7 Alpha, turn right heading 210.
210 and heading now.
That's okay, because also you're at full throttle, however that prop's not spinning as fast because the prop is slow, the crankshaft is slower here, but if we push the nose down at full throttle, the crankshaft's going to spin even faster,
right?
Because the airfoil naturally wants to...
Landing for your approach, Oscar 507 Golf is going mid, over Millville, would like to get the vectors for the ILS.
7 Golf, Atlantic City departure, ident, climb and maintain 3,000.
And then like probably 50 feet prior, you could start slowly pushing the nose forward. Okay. Right there, and you can start pitch, power, and then trim. So pitch, power to 2100.
500 Atlantic City altimeter, 3058. Turn left heading 290, vector for the ILS, runway 10 approach.
Left heading 290 through the ILS, approach, Archer 507 Golf.
Get down there.
Wing 16, turn left heading 130, vector for sequence.
Heading 130, wing 16.
2167 Alpha, 4 miles from Christie, turn right heading 280, maintain 2000 until stopped on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 31 approach.
Okay, you want the 240 on the heading and
Yeah, it looks like the RPMs have increased a little bit on you too.
Well, it hasn't moved down.
Yeah, so it could be a little bit of that too. Also this turbulent air.
Yep. Now we're getting there.
Atlantic City, Cessna 61387, checking in 5,000.
Cessna 61387 Atlantic City approach, altimeter 3058.
So this is 5 there you go. And you're not doing it much, but I can tell you're being very precise with the yoke. Okay. And those are the little things where you could try and use your feet, or just do nothing almost, because the plane is stable enough to the point where it may just come right back to where.
Romeo Juliet 6000.
I have a death grip on the thing. I should see that.
Exactly. Yeah.
058, thank you.
My favorite thing is to show people, once we start doing takeoffs and landings, the pattern, how to fly the whole entire airport traffic pattern with barely even having your hand on the yoke.
Right.
Atlantic City, November 39er request, terminate flight following.
November 24399, roger, radar service terminated, frequency change approved,
Alright.
Stop to fly 399, see you later.
What we'll do is we'll jump on the expressway.
Fly heading 30.
But what we can do is let's get it in slow flight first. So are you familiar with what slow flight is?
I am, yeah.
Alright, so yeah, it's just to get the aircraft in the landing configuration.
2167 Alpha contact.
So flaps, there's speeds on this. We have to be below 110 to activate flaps 10 degrees.
Yep.
If I put the flaps down to 10 degrees now though, because we have airflow and all that thrust still coming in, it's going to start to the plane's just going to balloon.
Yep.
So to prevent it from ballooning, because I want to stay at our same altitude, we're going to just pull the power back. So pull the power back to a cruise set, or that descent setting of about 1500 RPM. In my descent checklist, again, it's just have another flow. I'm going to slow the plane down, go to the floor. We'll select this on both.
Okay.
Lights, carb heat, so you can pull carb heat. We don't need lights. Mixture full rich, so we verify it's full rich. And we're going to go 10 degrees. So you go ahead and ease it down 10 degrees. And now because we did that, the plane shouldn't balloon too much. And you just keep forcing the nose on the horizon. And we're going to start losing altitude because we're increasing drag on the aircraft as well. And now we're going to have to start using power to control altitude. Are you familiar with the pitch for airspeed, power for altitude?
I've heard it, yeah.
Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to use 65 knots. That's our approach speed for this aircraft. So we'll hold 65, and then you can start adding power to regain altitude. And it's probably going to take a good amount of thrust, so you can start applying like a lot of thrust.
Not even at 65. Now I am, yeah. Okay.
Wing 16, turn right heading 220, descend and maintain 2000.
Right turn 220, descend and maintain 2000, wing 16.
And as we're doing that, we're going to continue putting more flaps in. I'm not too worried about being spot on these altitudes. I want to get the aircraft into slow flight for the most part, and then we'll try and fix it.
Well, speeding up anyway, I gotta slow it down.
There you go. And then go ahead and increase your flaps. We're in the white operating arc, and that white arc on the airspeed indicator. There's 20 degrees, and just keep it back down to the horizon.
Yep.
My reference for 65 knots is actually just bring the compass. This is going to be your 65 knots, 3 inches above. As long as you hold it like this, you're about 65 knots.
3104 Atlantic City departure radar.
And go ahead and get your 30 degrees of flaps in, and as you do that, just keep that compass 3 inches below the horizon.
That goes all the way down?
Yep, yeah, you can go all the way. And you'll start feeling more drag on the airplane.
Right.
As you do that, go ahead and add some forward trim so that way the horizon stays 3 inches below. So the airspeed indicator may read a little, it might be slightly delayed on you. Alright, while we're doing this,
Wing 16,
get back onto the expressway, and you're going to do nothing more than standard rate turns, and just force the nose down so that way the horizon stays in that same spot. So nothing crazy on the bank angle.
280 Archer, 507 Golf.
And for altitude, let's go ahead and full throttle, so max power all the way in, while holding the nose down in that same position for 65 knots. We added a little thrust, so we will be able to know that we can prick the nose up the tiniest bit, okay, to get back to 65. So for all these up drafts and down drafts, try not to move the yoke too much.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
There you go. And then push the nose back down. And bring that power out to hold.
Over to tower, wing 16.
Altitude. So you can pull that power back and we'll relieve ourselves from the climb.
Washington Center, 127.7.
27.7, clear wings 3104, good day.
Again, I'm just going to pitch for that horizon to be in the same spot. And then pull the power back a little bit.
To what, 15?
Yeah, right around there. 19 is probably good. That should slow our descent down as we pitch for 65.
Oh,
so yeah, notice how you don't really need to move this too much. So that could just be a little bit of rudder. Look, we'll just drop that wing down a little bit. And let's go ahead and clear left. So lift up the left wing.
November 2220 Zulu.
And you go ahead and make a left 180 on this on the expressway. So you'll just get your bank angle set very light like that, no more than that approximately.
387, traffic 12 o'clock and 4 miles southbound, southwestbound, 6,000 Cherokee.
There you go. You see how the plane's coming around just fine.
20 Zulu, have the traffic sight.
November 20 Zulu, roger, contact over approach 132.42.
And if we wanted to get ourselves to land, let's say we're going to land on the expressway. This is our runway.
307 traffic.
65 knots we said was approximately the horizon being about 4 inches above the dash. Now go ahead and pull the power to 1500 RPM and that'll give us a descent rate of around 500 feet per minute. And now retrim the airplane so the horizon stays in that same spot. And with this tachometer setting, the throttle setting, I can get the aircraft to pretty much get myself into that smooth, stabilized descent rate every single time without even looking at my instruments other than my tachometer. Right? How often would it be that your tachometer probably stopped working?
Right.
But if you're in icing conditions where somehow your pitot tube froze over, you couldn't get an airspeed reading, so we can safely fly this thing and get it on the ground just by looking outside. Ease the nose forward.
Number 507 Golf, turn left heading 180, descending
a little bit more still. And we'll level off at 1,500 feet.
180,
so all you have to do to level off when we get to 1,500 is just simply add power.
Okay. How do we keep turning left? More right rudder?
I think some of it may just be a little like well, it's a good thing you're flying very precisely. They're trying to get that balance.
Well, yeah, I guess we don't care.
I think you might be moving too briskly. Yeah. So if you make smaller corrections, some of the watch where if I move the plane briskly, you may notice it gets a little bit more bouncy, but if you try and make those movements very slow, because if you make the movements slower,
right,
it's less susceptible to having like a jerk back and forth on you a little bit. So like you can move very fast, but when you move very fast, like make it like I don't know, it's like a less jerky like flow to it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, not.
November 507 Golf, 5 miles from Laddie, turn left heading 130, maintain 2000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 10 approach, Millville Airport.
Left heading 120, down 2000, maintain 2000.
We have 200 feet to go.
Yeah. ILS into Millville, Archer 507 Golf.
Not touching it. We are going off too early.
Atlantic City, wing 16, 1,200 feet.
And you're only going to level off with throttle.
Yeah.
That's really all that it takes.
Swing 16 Atlantic City departure radar contact.
Because we want our airspeed to be pitched for the same exact thing, so now you can just start introducing that power and hold it nose down. It may take around 19 or 2,000 RPM to maintain altitude.
Said you wanted to hold at Smith.
Hey, yes, ma'am. Hold at Smith's. And actually, when we get there, if we could get a block altitude, say 4 block 5.
Swing 16 Roger, hold east of Smith as published, except maintain 4 block 5 approved.
Okay, hold as published at Smith's 4 block 5. Wind 16, thank you. Atlantic City, good morning. Skylink 2 Golf checking in.
Alright, when able, I'm going to have you make a right 180 degree turn. We're going to take the Atlantic City Expressway, we're going to take it westbound. So get your bank angle set just right there, about standard rate turn.
That's standard right there?
Yep,
yeah, I see
with the wing touching the bar. And you would typically not want to do more than that because we have the flaps down, so we don't want to make big control movements. Also, you feel the controls are very mushy a little bit.
Right.
That's because there's less airflow simply over them.
Gotcha.
So a standard rate turn is a turn about 3 degrees per second. So 360 degree turn in 2 minutes, that's what the placarding is there for. So for 2 minutes it'll take 360 degrees will take 2 minutes as long as you have the wings set. Now with airspeed though, through airspeed, the bank angle needed to maintain that standard rate turn is going to change with your speed.
Right.
And Archer 507 Golf, traffic appears to be climbing 1,700 now opposite direction.
Still looking, Archer 507 Golf. Atlantic City 28 Golf, I have 6.5 minutes.
November 28 Golf, be for altitude, your discretion.
28 Golf.
November 507 Golf, traffic 12 o'clock, 4 miles now, opposite direction. Altitude indicates 2,400, type unknown.
Still looking, Archer 507 Golf.
Trying to get back down to 2,500.
This looks very smooth. And once we level off at 1,500, we'll get ourselves out of slow flight.
Okay.
And in order to do that, you're always going to do it at full throttle, at max power, because you don't want to retract flaps without having full throttle.
Okay. Wait, I'm sorry, you said 1,500?
Yep, so right there.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You can start easing that power back in.
507 Golf, traffic should be no faster.
And now you can start using it to max power.
At about 2 miles.
So max power and carb heat in, because carb heat is also going to increase performance, and you can power even more. Yep. And then, as you retract the flaps, just force the nose to stay in the same spot on the horizon. So you go ahead and
terminate it, change to 5
Yep, 10 degrees at a time.
We'll cancel now, Archer 507 Golf.
November 507 Golf, Roger, for cancellation received.
And now you go ahead and go all the way up and retrim it. Yep, you'll notice you might need nose up trim as this happens.
Departure length 2167 Alpha is 1
There you go.
Climbing to 1.6 down to Whiskey.
Like spot on.
Length 216.
And then now that you have that, now you go ahead and pull the power back.
On course 67 Alpha.
And as we pull the power back, now we're going to have to retrim it a little bit. So you can pull it to cruise at 2,100.
Yeah.
Atlantic City approach Skyhawk November 52261, like to cancel direct cross keys.
November 52261, Roger, radar service terminated, frequency change approved, squawk VFR.
Alright, VFR, frequency change approved, good day, 52261.
VFR.
Squawk VFR. Sometimes I have to death grip the top of this.
Oh, yeah.
In these conditions, is what you have to do. 22.7. 122.8. We're going to follow the expressway towards Cross Keys.
So yeah, I'm actually familiar with this little route.
Oh, okay, because you already flown out
South
here?
Jersey traffic,
It's in the simulator.
Six,
I'm
South Jersey.
used to seeing this curve, and then it's like right up there.
The curve is what I use, and then you have a blue and a beige water tower out there. That's what I stand at.
South Jersey traffic, Archer, right crosswind, 26 South Jersey.
Good in air park. That's
Yeah, good job. Hold him like that.
The pattern.
And but try and keep right hand still the whole time.
Good.
Right hand on throttle the whole time.
Okay, sorry.
Alright, so pretty much that entire slow flight you just flew to get you to the runway.
Right.
After that, all you have to work on is the flare. And then, you know, of course, just practicing.
South Jersey traffic, Archer, right downwind, 26 South Jersey.
And of course, we'll go through a little bit of stalls because we want to go through the recovery of the stall, not the actual stall. The stall is pointless. It's the recovery that we want to know how to do.
Yep.
We'll move into all that. Continue with ground reference maneuvers as it gets windier. There's some other turns we can do called like S-turns along a road and so forth.
Right.
And maybe we'll practice climbing for constant airspeeds, climbs and descents. I'm sure it's actually going to be probably pretty easy for you, especially because you have the flight instrument scan. But for the most part, an instrument scan, for me, I make it the easiest scan possible when I teach people. It's called the T-scan. You start at the center, left, center, down, center, right. That just makes a T the entire time. And the reason why you try and pick up a scan is to prevent yourself from staring at one instrument too long.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
And we have the blue water tower. You can start navigating directly to it.
The little guy?
Yep.
Okay.
And cross keys. Was that 27 that's the active? And cross keys traffic, White Scout 261, 4 miles east of the field, 1,500. Inbound landing, cross keys.
South Jersey traffic, Archer, base to final, 26 South Jersey.
They're going to be 27?
I think so. That's what he said, right?
I heard 27, but I didn't hear.
Yeah, that's what I was favoring is 27 anyway, so I'm cool with that. You go to Williamstown High School over there on the left, and we could soon, we'll start a descent down to 1,000.
1,000? Oh, shit, sorry.
He's sorry about that. I think he said he's lining up on 27.
And you said descend to 1,000 at some point?
Yep, yeah, we could probably start that descent now about, so you can pull the power to maybe even 1,800 just to keep best forward speed ahead. And my reference to tell people is whenever below the green arc, just pull carb heat out.
Oh, okay.
Now, because the manufacturer says when descending or landing, I mean, for the most part, if you have that throttle setting below the green arc, you're more than likely descending or landing, so
Right.
I just use that as like a green means, you know, good, and then green, if you're out of the green, it's bad, so pull carb heat. It's just like an easy memory aid.
South Jersey traffic, Archer, upwind, 26 South Jersey.
There's that traffic.
Yeah, I think I have. You said you have traffic climbing out and stuff?
Yeah,
On the ground.
above the blue water tower, or the white water tower. Is that it?
Crosskeys, fifth left crosswind, left downwind departure due east, Crosskeys.
Oh, okay.
South Jersey
right on the horizon
traffic,
right
right
now.
crosswind, 26
Right above
South
the
Jersey.
I got him. And cross keys traffic, White Scout 261, 2 miles southeast of the field, 1,000 feet over Williamstown High School. We have departing traffic in sight. We're inbound, left downwind, 27 cross keys. And you go ahead and level off at 1,000 right there. And you can put carb heat in. And oil temp pressure still looking good.
There it is.
He looks like he'll climb above us probably.
Yeah, it looks like it. Alright, carb heat's in. They want 100 RPM.
Yeah, I'm going to take it real quick. Guide us in the landing. And of course, right away rules, ideally we would go to the right end.
Pussy traffic, Southwalk 6814 Hotel, departing 27 to the south.
South Jersey traffic, Archer, right
cool,
downwind, 26 South Jersey.
My buddy's dad had one of those.
A Pitts?
Yep. Used to terrorize the
neighborhood.
The picnickers. He would find picnickers and then like go right over to the treetops and scare the hell out of them.
That's freaking funny. Yeah, he's well known in the pilot country. One of the best pilots.
Interesting.
Jason. And his dad's really well known for building them. I'm going to start bringing us down to a pattern altitude. I think we got drafted up to about 200 feet high. And cross keys traffic, White Scout 261, entering the left downwind runway 27, upwind traffic in sight, cross keys. Alright, so for my traffic pattern, 1,000 feet above the ground here, well actually, typically it's 1,000 feet above the ground unless it's specified otherwise.
Right.
Cross keys is traffic pattern altitude of 1,000 feet above sea level.
Okay.
Instead of 1,000 feet above the ground. Why? Maybe just because of the Bravo shelf or something, I'm not sure. But this is my landing point, is the runway numbers. I'm going to start my descent check. Seatbelt shoulder harnesses are fastened. I'm pulling that power back to 15. Fuel selectors on both. My lights are on as required. Heartbeat is out, mixture is full rich, and 10 degrees of flap. So I'm pretty much just going to slow flight it to the ground. Okay. And then stall it right above the runway.
Right.
The entire time, my pitch is not going to deviate from the horizon. My horizon is locked. I'm forcing it to stay in that same spot. We're going to clear left, and for altitude, I'm just going to jockey the throttle around as needed. You know, as much or as little power as required.
Right.
And because if you try and change pitch here, we're low to the ground, we're banking, we're going to stall the airplane.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it'd be not the correct thing to do, so.
You're saying it's bad to stall the airplane below 1,000 feet?
Yeah, not ideal. Alright, so pitch, I'm a little fast here so I can ease, and it's only going to be like the tiniest bit up.
Right. South Jersey traffic.
I'm flying a slightly wider pattern right now than what I would typically do because I want you to kind of see all this.
Right.
Ideally always, and then here's 20 degrees of flaps.
Okay. Right before the the final?
Yep, I always go 20 degrees on base, so 10 degrees on downwind, 20 degrees on base, 30 on final. Alright, my runway, so my pitch is set for 65. Trimming it out. Horizon is locked. Now I keep my runway numbers in the same position. Just make sure I'm not climbing or descending. If I start to go low, the numbers go higher on the glass. If I go high, the numbers go lower. Cross keys traffic, White Scout 261 is short final, 27 full stop cross keys. And we're just going to pull power to idle because landing's already assured. I could start slowly flaring.
Okay, so you do that up here.
That depends on the winds.
Right.
Right now I can. I feel like it's not really descending well. So I'm just going to hold it as she sinks. I'm going to plant that right wheel into the wind first. And bring her down. And I'm going to keep adding right aileron to plant the right wheel down. There's the nose. And then slowly start moving my feet up. Brake.
The right aileron was just for the wind?
Yep, okay. Just because we're getting a little bit of a right crosswind here.
Roger.
So you're constantly just using your feet to make sure that that nose is always going to center down or be lined up with the runway.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to do is land side loading the plane. Aileron is simply for wind drift. I need to plant the right wing down so that way the wing doesn't end up coming up. And then in really gusty conditions, the wing comes up and then it comes up so much to the point where you have no more effectiveness to push the wing down.
Right.
And you're going to just blow over.
Gotcha.
That'd be extreme conditions. You shouldn't be out flying that way.
Right.
And cross keys traffic, White Scout 261 is cleared, runway 27, cross keys. After landing,
South Jersey traffic, Archer, downwind,
I can go
downwind,
flaps
26 South Jersey.
And verify flaps are going up evenly on each side. Mixture, I'm going to pull it back, and we can go carb heat in because we don't need that anymore.
Right.
And then, lights as required. The other thing is to verify that you're still squawking 1200 now, because now we just had a squawk code, we were doing all that flying around, we want to make sure it's 1200. I'll have you taxi back if you'd like.
Sure.
So you'll be on controls.
Alright.
And for the most part, if you're moving slow, just jolt the throttle, and then pretty much you could pull it back down. It shouldn't really take much, and you'll just listen to the airplane a little bit to hear that engine running and how it sounds.
Alright.
To know what your throttle setting needs to be. Typically 1,000 RPM is your idle setting when sitting for extended periods of time. But if you're not, if you're taxiing and you are moving too quick, you can pull the power to idle.
Right.
1,000 RPM is just to make sure that the alternator is spinning fast, that the engine's spinning fast enough, and it's charging the alternator. That way the alternator's charging the battery, and we can use all the electronics without drawing a load from the airplane. And then we'll park it right out front of the blue FBO.
Facing.
So you could point to the right. We'll taxi this way, and then you can bring my door to the to that door, pretty much.
How close?
Just to the left of that wheel chuck, pretty much. I'll help guide it just because we don't hit it.
That's fine.
Yeah, should be good right there. And then we'll shut it down, so the way you shut it down is by choking the engine. So before choking the engine, though, we just have to shut electrical down.
Okay.
So it'll be avionics off.
And then that's it. And then you can just choke the aircraft out. Start it. And then you can pretty much just go mags off. And then keys on the dash, so that way anybody walking around the airplane knows that mags aren't hot. And then you can turn that on. That's pretty much it. The other little things that we'll do is put the control lock in. And yeah. Cow plugs if it was really cold out and we wanted to try and keep that engine warm for the next flight. But probably going out in just a second anyways.
Oh, okay.
So it's not really needed. No, I enjoy it. It's definitely worse jobs out there. Yeah. This is pretty nice. Yeah. I love it.